Right now, I want to welcome to the program from the Washington Free Beacon, Mr. Stephen Gutowski. Stephen, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you, Cam?
I am excellent. I appreciate you coming in studio today. A couple of pieces, actually, I want to reference here. First of all, you've got a piece at about Industry Day at SHOT Show. Was this "I shot 100 guns in 8 hours"? Is that the title of your piece?
That is the title, yes.
Did you keep track of all 100 guns that you shot?
Well, after a while, it kind of all becomes a little bit of a blur. But yeah, I would say I shot about 100 guns in 8 hours, maybe about 1,000 rounds or so of ammunition. It was quite the day.
You took advantage of Industry Day at the range. Were you out there all day long?
I was out there all day, 8 hours. We had a little problem with the bus getting in, so it cut down on my time. I wasn't able to get to every booth. My plan was to shoot every single gun, but anyone who's ever been to that event probably knows that's not really physically possible. So I got through as many as I could.
Right. Well, I'm glad that you did, and you wrote it all up. What were some of the guns that you? I mean, again, out of 100 guns, what were some of the guns that stood out to you?
Well, some of the most interesting guns, or one of the most interesting companies, was Tracking Point, which makes a whole electronic system, a computer-assisted system, firearms system that incorporates an optic, a computerized optic that essentially ensures that you hit every single time you aim at a target. It's a very interesting product and very unique shooting experience. But yeah, I had some. I don't know where it fits in the shooting world. But it's a very interesting product for sure.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's the there's a skill aspect that I don't want to lose. Certainly, I can see some military designs for that, but. I want to challenge myself a little bit, and that does take some of the challenge away. Frankly, I was impressed with myself shooting clay targets. I don't know if you got to shoot. Was it the ITAS shotguns? If you made it out there, but they have the EOTech sights on their shotguns, and I tell you, I've never shot clay targets as well as I did at Industry Day at the range, Stephen.
No, I wasn't able to get to the shotgun range. It was very sad. I got through like 50 of these different booths. I couldn't get out to the shotgun area, which was sad. But I did get to shoot a lot of my favorite style of gun, which is the fully automatic short-barreled rifle. I think that's the most fun shooting experience that I've ever had in my life. And so there were a number of those, including the Vector from Chris, which was really interesting.
Oh, really? I didn't get a chance to shoot the Chris at all. All right. We could talk guns all day long, and maybe we should, given that this is a Cam & Company. But you've got another story here. We've got a lot of veterans. We love our veterans, both the two-legged and four-legged variety. And this is a story, really, that is worth talking about. It's a week full of crazy political news and, senators pitching fits and running away from their committee hearings. So it's easy for a story like this to get lost. But I want to focus some attention to this because – we've seen a lot of stories about the Obama administration sort of letting our veterans down through the VA system. This, I think, was another letdown, some lack of oversight. It sounds like could have led to some really heartbreaking situations. So tell me about these retired Army dogs that were supposed to go to veterans. In some cases, they were supposed to go to their handlers, right?
Yeah. Well, so there was a temporary program that the Army adopted to get more bomb sniffing dogs into the field to save, troops' lives, to detect IEDs, essentially. And when that program came to an end, the Army decided that it would take the dogs that were left and see which ones they wanted to roll back into military service. But the rest, the first choice was supposed to go to the handlers that they served with, and then police, and then civilians. But instead what happened was essentially that was ignored, it seems, and most of them were just sort of dumped out on this mass adoption day in North Carolina, and they just went to civilians. A few of these dogs, about 13 of them, went to a private company called Solid Technologies, which then attempted to sell them to foreign countries, foreign governments, to use, again, as military working dogs, even though the adoption contract that was signed for these dogs says you're not allowed to do that.
So how did this get discovered, Stephen?
Well, what ended up happening is this deal falls through, right? They can't get the contracts signed. They can't sell the dogs. And so they tell the kennel owner where they had housed these dogs to rehab them because they were in bad shape after they came back from overseas. They told him essentially to dispose of the dogs, to kill them, essentially. And when he refused, and when he realized he wasn't ever going to be paid for taking care of these dogs, he, on his own, went out and found help from some nonprofits to find the handlers for these dogs and get them reunited, which in most cases is what happened.
That's amazing. And again, there are some happy endings to this story, but you know, I mean, really, it comes down to this kennel owner deciding, all right, I'm not going to let this happen to these animals. What, if anything, has happened to this company? Because it sounds like they certainly weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing.
Right. Well, so the company was sued by the kennel owner. It doesn't seem the Army had any sort of oversight in this procedure. They didn't really follow through on making sure that the promises that are laid out in the adoption papers are actually followed. The kennel owner himself says he's near bankruptcy from caring for the dogs for over a year, and so you know, there's a lot of people that were harmed in this process. A lot of the dogs were able to be reunited with their handlers, but there's a lot of people that ended up suffering. In fact, one of the handlers, his name's Jake Carlberg, he died before he was ever able to reunite with his dog. He spent months and months searching for his dog, dealt with all kinds of Army bureaucracy, was lied to on a number of occasions by Sullivan Technologies and the people associated with them. And then he passed away in a car accident before he was ever able to see his dog again.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's the thing, right? On the one hand, you've got this company coming in and taking these dogs, not doing what they're supposed to be doing with them. But on the other hand, you've got these handlers who had been told, had been made aware, right, that they were going to have the opportunity to possibly adopt these pets. And so they're looking for these dogs, and they're not getting any help from the military as to where these animals actually are.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And you know, a lot of them were misled in this process, and so they held on to this hope that they would see these dogs again, and Jake certainly did, until it was taken away from them. And you know, in some cases, there's still one dog that's unaccounted for in this group of 13. Most of the dogs do have a happy ending at this point, but and Jake's family was able to have some semblance of closure because they were able to get his dog back, and now his wife and children are able to be with his dog. But you know, there's still one dog missing, and for a year or more, these people were put through you know, an emotional roller coaster, basically, searching for their dogs. That they formed this incredible bond with them, you know, overseas, serving the U.S.
I mean, I can only imagine actually the bond that the handlers would have had with these creatures. And you know, I'm curious. So again, it sounds like the oversight wasn't present there. Have you gotten any response from DoD about a change in policies? Obviously, there's been a change in administration since then, but are there going to be any sort of you know, additional layers of oversight or just layers of oversight put in place here when you've got similar programs in the future? I imagine, again, this was dealing with one specific program, 13 dogs in total, but throughout the military, obviously there are other programs like this that would utilize canines. And what policies or procedures are in place to ensure that nothing like this happens again?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting question because they had a policy in place that the handlers were supposed to get first adoption. They just simply didn't follow it. And so as far as the consequences for that goes, it's unclear because the Army right now is investigating what happened in this case and what happened with all TEDD adoptions. So we're going to have to wait and see what comes of that investigation, really, before we know if anyone's going to face any real consequences for this, other than the kennel owner who did the right thing, and now he's you know, near bankruptcy.
Does he have a GoFundMe or anything that's been set up? Like any way that, you know, animal lovers could help this guy out?
Yeah, the kennel owner, Mount Hope Kennels, has a GoFundMe account. It's linked in my piece. I believe they've raised about a third or of what they need to stay afloat. So people can help in that way.
And this is Mount Hope Kennels, you said?
Yes.
All right. And again, we've got the story linked at Camp and Company here. And, I see the GoFundMe right now, Mount Hope Canine Warrior Rescue. Yep, $47,000 of $150,000 are raised. All right, well, Stephen, listen, I think it's incredible reporting. I'm glad that you've covered this story. I hope that you stay with it because it sounds like there are still some updates to come. But thank you, as always, sir, for coming in the studio. Hopefully we're going to get a chance to go out to the range together at some point. I don't know if we can shoot 100 guns, but they've got several guns out at the NRA range that I bet we could have access to.
Well, we could try to shoot 100 guns. I think, if we put our minds to it, maybe we could accomplish that.
The 100-gun challenge. All right. Steve Gutowski with the Washington Free Beacon. Thank you, as always, sir.
Thank you.
You bet. Coming up top of the